course, thank you. Please introduce yourself. I know you guys picked up a program, but if you guys can say just, your name and what you guys do.
Hi, I'm Alice Ellis. Hello.
And I'm Carol Grant.
And I'm Alice Ellis. Didn't work. I'm Jeff Olan.
Wow.
And I'm Vanessa Portillo.
And by the way, I didn't even introduce myself. I'm so excited to see all your faces. I'm Fatna Sallak-Williams. I'm the director of the Background Actors Department, who's you guys saw one staff member when you walked in, Louis, who's been working really hard, Deborah Booth, and Toloya. And I want to thank the local department, Serena, if she's around, and a few of her staff who are working really hard. Leslie Slumka, who's been helping us, the Specialty Performance Department. So please, clap for them. They worked so hard to make this happen this evening. So my first question to you guys, can you please walk us? I'm very curious, and I want to know this whole casting process of background actors. You have a scene, you have a producer who calls you and said that he has a scene. What do you guys do? How, step by step, how does it work? I wanna know. We don't have enough time. That's my question.
We don't have enough time.
Oh, you can summarize it.
Okay, a little summarizing. There. Truth of the matter is, first of all, before I say that, I think I'm going to be speaking on all of the casting directors' behalf by thanking all of you for being here. It's really nice. And it's great to see so many familiar faces and a lot of new faces. So what we do, and we all do it maybe a little differently, but pretty much the same, we'll usually get a telephone call, or in some cases an email, from our UPMs, assistant directors, producers, and they'll say, we have a project. And we want you on this project, or we want you to bid on the project. I don't have a whole lot, I don't have a lot of people anymore that say, will you bid on the project, but it still happens. So we get the project, we get the script, we have to go through and sign an agreement, just like all of you guys, if you're getting lines in a movie or TV show, you have to sign. And then it all starts coming at us. And it's almost like before we even started the job, they expect us to cast the entire job. They literally will come to us and say, I need this 10 days ago. So what has changed over the years is that more and more directors, assistant directors, and producers now want to see faces. They want to see people. It used to be where they just put people in. It was easy. We'd cast a restaurant scene, and you just had people in that restaurant scene. But now they want to see faces, and they want to see who's going to be sitting by the stars, and they want to see who's going to be sitting in the surrounded area around it, and they want to see photos. And in some cases, if you're going to be sitting right next to the actors, they're going to want to interview you. So there's a whole process to what we do that you guys don't know. And a lot of you just think that it's easy, that we could just pop you in. It doesn't always happen that way. And that's kind of how it all starts. Anybody want to add?
Well, my process is a little different because I do mostly commercials. So, each commercial can be different. Sometimes I'm contacted by the producer, with the production company, and sometimes it's the advertising agency. And often the production company will give me the specs of what they're looking for, and they want a sort of general submission. And they do very much care. It seems sort of counterintuitive because often in commercials, you cannot be seen, but because they are paying for them and Coke or Pepsi or whomever cares very much about who is associated with their product. So, and it can be different. On some commercials, the director may be choosing them and need to then go to the client to get approval. In some cases, it's an AD. It varies, so it's always slightly different depending on every job, but.
If I can add to what Jeff said, because I'm in his arena of the background casting for film and TV, they'll often want to picture pick things, but they don't have a date that it's going to work yet. So how are you supposed to be available? And us say, yeah, they're reliable, they'll be there, when we're not sure when it's going to shoot. And that's a frustrating part of the process, because you're trying to please them, but you don't want to tell them something they want to hear. You want to tell them the truth.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. Today, for instance, we're starting a new series in August. And the first AD, who I've known and I've worked with several times, I'm doing it for him, not because I think all these people are going to be available, but he's asking for, and you guys will hear it on my lines or on Facebook, you'll hear that we're asking for things that are working in August. We cannot give you work dates because we don't have that. But they want to see it so they could show it to the director, so the director could say, yes, we're right on, that's it, that's great. Hopefully, what the ADs are hoping for is, once it comes time to shoot, most of the people will be selected by then. We'll have maybe an A, a B, a C choice, so if we can't get that first choice, that second choice will be put in. And we'll go from there, because a lot of directors do not want to be bothered once they're on set.
And I was just going to add a little bit to that of, there are many faces in this room who have been around for many years and that I've recognized and I've worked with for a long time. And, gone are the days of, like Jeff said, book the restaurant scene or the pedestrians, a street scene now they want to see photos for. So a process that used to be, put it on our lines and people would call in and sure, absolutely, let's book you. Across the board, now it's become, send us 300 pictures for our pedestrians, and they want to pick them. So it's a little bit frustrating for us because, again, we know who's reliable, we know who's great for the scene, we know who works and who's got the wardrobe we need and who's going to have the car. But now they want to picture pick the person, the car, and oftentimes we actually have to submit the car. And it might be a period piece, and we're submitting period cars, but the person has to match, and the person has to go well. And if they have the clothes sometimes, even better, that's, a lot of that has changed.
So we have been very, very lucky and very blessed this year not to really have a hiatus. My agency is doing a lot. For those of you who are with me and those of you who will come and join, obviously it doesn't cost a cent. We're doing How to Get Away with Murder in the 3rd year. We're starting up Grey's Anatomy, which will go into our 13th year. And we have some other shows. We have a Hulu show and a BET show and some others that are all union. And from time to time, we do take on non-union because we do have a lot of non-union people that want to get work. So that's what we have going. Stay in touch all summer, and we'll be in touch with you the best we can. But remember, for each of you that submit, there could be, several other people submitting for those. So just keep doing it. Keep working the phones. Keep calling. Go to your call bank and keep calling. Keep calling.
Okay, well, we work quite a bit with the Hallmark people. A lot of you have been out there for us. So we're getting ready to start another Hallmark project. We've got an Adult Swim show called Adam Ruins Everything. Some of you may have worked that. And then we've just come off, we're finishing a film called Fun Mom Dinner. Tomorrow's their last day. We've got a couple web series shooting. A lot of the web series that you guys are seeing out there are new media, as you guys know. A little tricky because they come through our offices and they want to do really, really low rates on the union members. And we turn down projects very often in our office because they want to do minimum wage on the union background. And I tell them, absolutely not. And I know that everybody needs to work, but I also think that there should be somewhat of a standard to that. And I know it's negotiable. I know that they tell us, oh, well, what about the wardrobe? We don't have to pay for wardrobe. And I said, well, we're negotiating now. So, to me, I think it's really important to keep somewhat of a standard there, and we turn them down constantly, and we really try hard to kind of, I hope that other offices are doing that too, because it's just not, I'm not comfortable with it, and it doesn't work for us, so.
If I could follow up on that, because I think I might be in hot water. I totally agree with Vanessa. I totally agree with her. There was one movie that we recently took on, and tomorrow's the last day, and it's called Deported. I don't know if anyone here has worked on it. Mm-hmm. You liked it? Yeah. Okay. It's minimum wage, and for us to pay, or for the production people to pay, frankly, what the non-union are getting, I think it's just it's a slap in the face. I took it on only because the producer I've known, and she begged and begged and begged after I turned her down twice. So, the producers are very good with dangling the carrot. But I don't really care if I see the carrot. I'll never do one of those again, and I'll stick with Vanessa on that.
Do you hold registration for every project that you have, or do people register once and then you have them in your roster? And I just want to understand how this whole process works.
For creative extras, we register everybody online. You register through our website, and it's a very simple process. It walks you through it. We tell everybody to just keep your calendar open and updated often. If you have days that you're not available, we do searches in our database, and it filters through availability that way. So it's important just to keep your information updated with us.
With us, any of you who have been with me for a long time know that we used to do it 4 days a week, and we have held off on that for a couple of different reasons. It takes a lot of time, especially when you open up registration and you have lines of people out the door, and we don't, unfortunately, always have the work for those lines of people. So what I did for a long time is I stopped the registration process, not because I didn't want to see so many beautiful new faces, but it was just a thing that we had to do. So now we do it every once in a while, and we open it up. But when we open it up, it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of cost. I have to bring in crew members because we end up having, hundreds of people coming and lining up, and it can take some time. As those of you who know my office, it's not like a big room like this. You're waiting, and some of you, like Matt the other day, you're waiting, and you could be waiting and, literally waiting down the street at McDonald's getting a Big Mac. But at least you won't be hungry by the time you see us. But so that's why we don't do it that much anymore. It's more by invitation only, and that's why I'm inviting the SAG members that are in this room to come in.
I didn't feel like having registrations was often, because a lot of companies a while ago were doing it as income. Come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays and we'll register you, or you'll pay to update. And striking out on my own, and it just seemed, without having enough work, why would I be bringing all of you in and taking your money? Because it cost me to do it as well. So I had a registration in February when I was lucky enough to get a project for HBO called The Young Pope. And that director, Paolo Sorrentino, was very specific about wanting to do street casting. He wanted to see people he didn't want to see headshots, he wanted to see current pictures, and he wanted to see a lot of them. And I was so surprised. In 2 weekends, I had over 800 people register. Fortunately, I had people helping me, wonderful people. I see one of them here. But I was so disappointed that it took so long to get everybody through the process. And I rented a facility, and it was very expensive to do. And I'm really glad I did it. I used a new database called Fast Capture. I don't know if any of you heard of it, but it's working really well. And I think I'll have a registration again in the fall, but only if I have projects to warrant bringing you in for one. And for anybody that was at that registration and waited 3 hours on the street, I apologize, because that line went down the street and around the block. Yes.
My registration is through my website also, and it's, it's very simple. You upload a picture, put in your size information. If you are a juggler or have any special skills, there's a spot for that too. And that's it.
That's good. What is the role of the calling services in your casting process? What is the role of the the calling services in your casting process?
If somebody, there's a little field for that on my website. If you are with a calling service, I would probably reach out to them, but it's not necessary. Most of the time, if I want to check your availability, you would probably get an email from me.
Carol?
The calling services really help, but so many things help. Facebook helps, LA Casting helps, and the calling services do help because, for example, if I'm going to book 6 different people and I can see, well, these are with that calling service and those are with that, then I can just make one phone call to that service, because often if I'll call them directly, the talent, I have to also call the calling service anyway so that they don't get double booked. So I find them very helpful, especially with things that are last minute and late at night, that people that have left their availability, they'll send me, they'll be open till 11. And if I call them up and say, I'm in a jam, they'll send me a PDF of your pictures of those of you that are still available. And I can say, okay, try these ones. And they, with one phone call, instead of calling out 15 people individually, it's really helpful.
With call-in services for years and years and years, I didn't go with them. I was probably one of the longest standouts, did not want to go with call-in services because, quite frankly, I like to look at people and I like to talk to people and I like to book them. And call-in services have sprouted up more and more every day, and what I decided to do was, if I was going to work with them, they were going to have to work with us. So I want to make sure that everybody in their call-in service is in my agency. That doesn't mean that I want their people necessarily to call them up directly, but I want to make sure that I know who those people are. If they're going out for us, I want to make sure I have their paperwork, I know who they are, I know everything about those people. And that's when we started working with call-in services, and since then it has been a success, especially what Carol said. If you need people late at night, in the middle of the day, or whenever, and you need a group, you go through, you go, okay, I want this one, because they'll send us photos. We know who's in our database. And, it just goes back to, making one phone call instead of making, 200 phone calls. And like Carol was saying, especially when it's late at night and you really want to get the job done because you're being thrown something, late at night, and you don't want to be sitting there waiting for people to call you, then you're going to call a call-in service. So for that, it's good. For some people, it works. It's a lot of money. Call-in services are a lot of money for these people.
Yes.
But, if you could afford a call-in service and you want to do it. If not, do it the way you're doing it, and I'm sure that'll work too.
And I was just going to add absolutely everything that everybody here said. A lot of you also submit your pictures on LA Casting and are with call-in services. The only thing that I think most of us can say about that is that if you're submitting on LA Casting, make sure that you give your service a heads up, that they're aware that you are submitting yourself, maybe a check first with them, so that you don't get double booked. It happens often. You submit to us on LA Casting, somebody will. And then we realize, oh, that person's with whatever service. We call them and they say, nope, we just booked them on something else for tomorrow. So that's very frustrating, especially if it's something very, very specific that we're looking for and you feel like it's 8 o'clock at night and you just found your person and you call up the service and they say, nope, we booked them for tomorrow. So just a little bit of that. And we use all of the calling services, not all of them, but most of them we work with. And but it's not mandatory for anybody to actually be with a service. We like to talk to you guys as well directly.
I just wanted to add something about double booking. For me, you'll get an email saying, "Are you available? This is the date." I'll generally say it's not a booking at this point. I'm just asking you if you're available. So you write back in the email saying, "Yes, I am." And then maybe this is a week from now, and then you won't never not hear from me. If I do not have a booking from you, you will get an email saying, "I'm sorry, I don't have a booking from you," because it's automated in my website, so it's it's not hard for me to do. And I know that people are like, "Well, you asked me, and now I haven't heard anything." But then what often will happen is somebody gets, you've responded, "Yes, I'm available Tuesday," but then you get a call from Jeff Olan saying, "Are you available Tuesday?" And you hadn't heard from me. And most of us are pretty reasonable, so I don't have a problem. I don't think Jeff would have a problem saying, "Well, Alice checked my availability. Let me just check with her, and I'll get back to you." And sometimes I'll be like, "Well, I don't know. Go ahead and take that job." Or you know what, there's only 5 people that on avail. I'm pretty sure I'll have a booking for you. But often what happens is then I'll find out, yes, I do want to book you. And so I contact you and you're like, "Oh, well, I didn't hear from you, so I took this job from Jeff." But you can always ask. I mean, I know that maybe some other casting places would be upset by that. I've heard some stories, but I mean, if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. But I would rather, have the question put out there as opposed to because you will always hear from me if I do not have a booking for you. If I've checked your availability, you won't just not ever hear from me again.
Yeah, and if I could just follow up with that, it's absolutely right. I've talked to many of you in this room, and I say, do you have a call-in service, booking service? I say, clear yourself first, and then give me a call back. That job will be waiting for you, but don't call back 2 hours later. Call back right away. Clear yourself, because if you jump off the phone because you have to get back to set and you haven't completely booked out, you're making us wait, number one, and number two, we don't know if it's a complete booking or not until you get back to us to tell us that you're cleared with your booking service, and then we'll book you. It's that easy. And yes, I would do that for you.
We'll do it for you too.
Can I add something about the calling services?
Sure.
When you're in a crunch for time and they're wanting you to submit pictures, or maybe you've been too busy to take the time all week to pull pictures, the process is kind of lengthy. For myself, it's taking screenshots and shoving them onto one page so I can print a PDF of just those types and who I think they want to see for that spot. A calling service, if I say, "Hey, I'm looking for a specific type, like maybe Hispanics between the ages of 18 and 35. Send me who you have that show available next week, and not that we're booking them, but I just want to submit their picture just in case, because then I can submit a whole PDF that they've already pulled down quickly instead of me going and grabbing from each one of my independent folders and files for everybody and trying to create something to make it presentable and get it in front of the director." Because in the picture picking process, even if they send me a PDF of who they have, then I can maybe take quick screenshots of my favorites from that group. So again, time-wise, if you're trying to submit something, I don't know how you pull all your pictures together and create one document for each category, which later will be omitted. That's the thing, you work really hard on a category and you get a perfect group of people down and they go, "Oh, we omitted that scene." And you're like, I just spent 6 hours on that.
So
We really do work a lot submitting you guys, everybody up here, and anybody and everybody that does what we do in this town for the most part. We work really hard to submit you guys. The scene can be changed, it can be omitted. They could be looking now for, instead of a guy with dark hair and shaggy, they can go to a bald-headed guy or a woman who's 5'2", now up to 5'6", or an African American to an Asian. Happens all the time.
And it
so
happens,
bear with us.
It does happen, sometimes you'll send everything over and they'll say, they changed their mind. I'd actually like to see the complete opposite for this. And again, like Carol said, it's something that you spent hours working on, so back to square one, starting all over.
And if they didn't have to picture pick everything, if they let us book and be
That would be
casting,
easier.
it would be a lot easier. But
We do cast.
we can when we're allowed.
So in those situations where you have the last minute, you're looking for somebody or many people very specific, what places do you advertise it? Do you go, I know you guys all have a website, but do you use specific social media or, If you can list 3 places where you list your casting.
I love Facebook because it can be 11 o'clock at night and I need somebody at 5 the next morning, and sure enough, I'll get like 6 submissions from people, or they'll know somebody that fits what I'm looking for. And it really helps for me to not call and wake up people at 11 at night, and just to be able to get the word out. And then a lot of people will share what I need. So it's really a great resource. That, and I have to say LA Casting too.
I use LA Casting often. If I can't find something that I'm looking for in my own database, then I post it on LA Casting.
Okay. And
Same
Jeff?
thing. LA Casting has a lot of these people on it. We'll go to our Facebook page and we'll say, hey, stay in touch. You know, either call our lines because there's something on it, or this is what we're looking for, and submit. When that happens late at night, none of us like it, but it happens, and you just have to deal with it. And you find it, other than going on a bell tower and screaming out to everybody. That works too.
And we do Facebook and LA Casting as well, especially if it's something very specific, last minute. And, you know, a lot of times people check in directly to the office. We don't mind as long as it's, you know, give us a little time in between. The phones do stay busy for, I'm sure, all of us. Throughout the day, we're on the phones all day. It usually starts anywhere between 6 in the morning and sometimes doesn't wrap up till, you know, late at night, so.
Good. Sorry, guys, I just got LASIK, so it takes me a little while to read your cards, but I'm going to try my best. Can we get them all picked up? Yes. Sure, please. Deborah and Taloya are in the back, and they'll pick them up. Thank you, guys. So I know there's a lot of people that are starting in the business, and what kind of advice will you give them? Specific advice? Anything?
Look like your picture.
Definitely. I mean,
Look like
when
your
you get
picture.
your picture taken, you want to look like
Yeah,
the
you have
best
to look
version
exactly
of
like your
yourself, but
picture.
it really should look, I shouldn't be going, where's this person? And sometimes you may think that you're fudging something in your sizes or in your photos that is not really doing you a service. Because maybe I wanted somebody with a 40-inch waist, and you told me, you know, you put down that you feel a little bad about all the Christmas fruitcake you ate, and so you're saying you have a 36-inch waist. Well, I searched for somebody who could fit in a costume, and you didn't fit. So I would say, you know, look in the mirror and see, like, you know, the best version of yourself, and make sure that, and you know what, and if you change your hairstyle a lot, you change your hair color, I don't even necessarily you don't have to go to a professional photographer. I mean, I don't want a picture of the street in the background, you know, where's that person? And we all know how to find a 13-year-old to take a good picture of you, and you know, shoot me an email and say, you know, I've cut my hair, or I've lost 10 pounds, I've gained 20 pounds, whatever it is, make sure it's accurate, because it's a problem when you arrive to set and you don't look like what we thought you looked like.
Right, and with that said, if you are booked and you're not really the person that we think you are, or the person we booked, and your hair is all different, production will send you home in a lot of cases. They will send you home with no pay, and unfortunately, we're the ones that will take the grief. So if we take the grief, don't think we're going to go and jump to booking you again right away. The other thing that I will say is, you know, the picture's important. We always tell people don't come in looking like an unmade bed, especially the first photo you take. That's the photo that all the casting directors see. And if the casting directors are going to see that, that means all the directors, the ADs, the producers, whoever we're sending these photos to. So make sure you look great. And the other thing is, don't take a job unless you can be there. Don't take a job unless you can be there on time. If you can't do both of those, it's not going to work. And if you want to be in this business for longer than a day, make sure you know what you're doing.
I was going to add to the being on time. It's huge. I know a lot of people don't think 5 minutes late is an issue. at 6:05 in the morning when the phone rings for us on our cell phone, and we're being told that someone is, 3 minutes late and they're about to shoot the scene and they need everybody there because crew came in at 4:30 in the morning. They're not happy. They're not happy for us to have to call you and send back the text message and tell them what the situation was. We get that everybody has situations and life happens, so, we understand. Just let us know. Call ahead of time, leave a message, let us know what's going on with you. And the other thing is wardrobe. If, a lot of times they'll ask us for very specific wardrobe. We don't always expect people to have it. Some of you do, some of you don't. Totally understandable. Please don't submit yourself for a job where you don't have the correct wardrobe that we need, because the costume people are very, very important on any set. Everybody's important, but the costume people, it takes one costume person to go to your producer and say something, and it jeopardizes all of our work. I mean, it jeopardizes the casting company, it jeopardizes all the background, and someone's going to hear about it. Oftentimes, a lot of people hear about it, and it's a bad way to start your day.
Yeah, I really wanted to second that. I have it's difficult because the contract, commercial contract, says that you're to be paid per outfit. We ask that you bring a selection. If you don't have men and women, a pair of decent black pants, then go to Target and get a pair of, there are certain things because lots of times I won't be sending out your instructions maybe until 9:30 at night, and you have a 6 a.m. call time. If you're a man, you've got to own a pair of khaki pants. There's certain things, and don't come with them shoved in your Ralph's grocery. And people think that I never go to the set, but guess what? I always know. And to your point, I lost a big job because of the wardrobe stylist flipped her wig. And, who cast these people? And that was it. I was, and it was very upsetting for me. And it was a relationship that I'd had for many years. And somebody showed up with just wearing jeans and a plaid shirt, and then an almost identical crumpled plaid shirt in a Ralph's shopping bag. And that was their option. So, I know that they think it's just background, nobody sees me, but it's not the case. And wardrobe stylists also, there are people who fashion is obviously a big part of their lives. That's their lives, it's their careers, and it's a problem.
What Alice is saying, there are a lot of people that come that their clothing is crumbled up in a bag. The wardrobe people, they're the first people to see you. Probably the second people to see you are the craft service. And trust me, they both will go to the producers, and they are very heavy in the producer's ears to saying, that person stuck 4 donuts in their pocket, and it was a crumpled shirt. So trust me.
They will tell you.
Right, yeah.
I have to second that again. It reflects on us, just as when you bring things crumpled or you don't bring the right clothes, it reflects badly on us.
Also, I just can't say again enough about what you said about being on time. I don't know of, now maybe more industries, but I remember when I first started doing something they're coming to work and they're gonna get breakfast? I'm I was I want to do that job. I'm what do you mean? You can come in then before they even start. So that's the thing. When you come, if your call time is 6 a.m., I will put an email in courtesy breakfast, because it is a courtesy. We'll start serving at 5 o'clock. That doesn't mean, come at 5:45 and then you couldn't find a spot in crew parking and then you're showing up 5 minutes late and wanting to go eat. Your call times are ready to work times. Allow enough time to go and have that fabulous breakfast. And, and also the other thing I can't stand is, oh my God. There was traffic. We're in Los Angeles. The whole crew, everybody, we're all here. Everybody got here on time. Guess what? There's going to be traffic, And, I'm probably preaching to, the choir here. You guys want to work, you're here, but you would be surprised how often somebody thinks that is an excuse for being late.
Yeah, and if I could just continue on that just for a second. production works in 6 minutes. You guys know that. I think we all know that. It's 12:06, 12:12, 12:18. If you're a minute late, that's off of production, and production they're on time. They are always on time. Now, you may get there and sit around for 2 hours, but production's on time. And it is a bad reflection on the casting company that sent you out there if you're late. And as you said, I believe, if it's a bad reflection on us, it's a bad reflection on you. Keep that in mind. That's all I want to say.
It's interesting that you guys jumped in on your pet peeve, because that was my next card. So you're making my job easy. I think that you guys talked a lot about what irritates you the most about background actors. Would you want to add some, Vanessa?
I do. Sorry. No,
Maybe.
because when people are
Maybe
surprised.
what you love about background actors, maybe. Let's switch it.
Pay your dues on time, and if you're not caught up, don't take a SAG job and think we're not going to know, because I think we clear people, and so we hear it, which means we have to reach out to you after the fact to call SAG and the dues department and straighten the matter out. It really takes up a lot of our time. It's frustrating. Production never hears about it, but we have to deal with it, and we don't have time for that. So I think it's not fair for you to take a job unless you're current and in good standing.
And I just want to add something to that. Carol said production never hears about that, but the truth is, hopefully production doesn't hear about that. A lot of times people are not current on their dues, and if we call them and they say, well, it's been a really hard month, I don't have the $500 that I owe to the union right now, it puts us in a really bad position, because we actually, the show gets a fine for about the same amount of money. And it goes to the company, and I believe it lets them know why the fine came, right? Which performer and the whole thing. So your name goes to production. Our name is brought up. They're very upset with us. Oftentimes they'll call and they say, what is this? Why do we get a $500 fine, or whatever the amount is? And so, yeah, please pay your dues and be current, stay current. And it's a frustrating thing.
It is.
And it takes up a lot of our time to chase, call people over and over. And it's been the 5 days, and we're panicking that we're going to get the fine.
Lots of times it's easier to resolve something when it's happening right then, because if you file a claim, they may not, in my case, certainly, the shoot's only 1 day long. It's coming across somebody's desk a month later, and the client is paid, the job is wrapped, and they're like, what's happening? Why do we owe somebody? So it's easier for us to handle this and make sure that your voucher or your contract gets marked appropriately for smoke or whatever it is. It's just...
But I think a lot of time that's what we do in our department, is that the background actor will file a claim, and Deborah Toloya, who's there, that's what they know you so well, is they pick up the phone and call you guys first. We want to build those relationships. That's what we want to do, and we want to make sure that, I know I'm not. That's what I said all the time. I'm sitting in a wonderful office with the view of the Hollywood sign, and you guys are on a set, and it's different. So we make sure of that, But a lot of time it becomes one of those situations where we have to. Oh,
certainly. I don't think any of us are saying that, that's what you pay your dues for. That's why you are a union, because you've got some muscle. You're the muscle behind it to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of. But sometimes it's just easier to handle it in the moment.
And it works so well. I'm looking at Deborah, who's the queen of calling you guys and, making sure that those infractions are resolved without filing a formal claim.
And we appreciate that. And if there is a claim that should be filed, I think all of us would agree that should be filed. If
Totally.
if production's playing games and they're doing anything to jeopardize you and the union, we're going to be behind you that way as well.
Definitely.
So we talked about pet peeves and things that you guys don't like. What do you like about, particular background actors that you keep booking them over and over? What is it about that person that will, I heard Vanessa talk about being reliable, being on time, but, if you have other specific.
I mean, I was just going to say, a lot of times you guys know, I'm sure many of you have shown up for anything from the restaurant to the karaoke bar to a scene where there's a lot going on and they want everybody involved. Oftentimes we hear, send us people who can act. This is, they tell us all the time, this is going to be very involved. We want people who can really act. And it's difficult for us because we don't have a lot of you on tape. We're not used to seeing you in that capacity. So we want to know that if we tell you that it's a scene where, everybody's going to have to act like it's the best party they've ever been to, that you guys are going to jump in there and make us look good because we said that you guys knew how to party.
What I would say is, as far as favoritism, things like that, blah, 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 I think it all comes down to professionalism. If you guys are there for us on a set, you're showing up, you're showing there on time, you're showing with the correct wardrobe, you're not giving anybody on the set production from craft service to wardrobe to makeup to hair any kind of problems, then we're going to want to put you back out. And you have to understand there are thousands of you. We can't put you out every day. We'll get you where we can, but there are certain scenes that we can't put certain people on. Certain scenes, like Vanessa said, where you have to maybe be a little bit better actor. Other scenes where they want a particular look and we can't put you out. And with that said, and just one more thing I'd like to say, a lot of people will be on a set, whether it's television, whether it's movies or what have you, and you will tell us, and listen to me on this because it's very important, you will tell us, oh, I didn't work, they didn't have me in picture, but I want to be back on tomorrow. Okay? There's a reason why a lot of times, the majority of times, we do not put you back on tomorrow. The assistant directors, the wardrobe people, the producers, they know you were there. And they don't know 100% that you weren't on tomorrow, so they're going to come to us and say, why are we seeing this person again? We could say all we want to, well, they didn't work yesterday. Well, how do you know? How do you know for sure? How do you know they're not just telling you that? So understand that's another reason why if it's a restaurant scene one day and then it's a grocery store the other day and we don't put you on, that could be a reason.
I agree wholeheartedly. I was trying to think of how to answer this because I can't help it. I get attached to certain people. And there's some people just, no. Some background talent get it more than others. And you just know you can count on them. And they'll maybe give you a set report, or the ADs will say, hey, that person was great. And I actually have a list of one AD's people that he's always liking to bring back because he knows he can count on them. They can act. They're professional. They get it. They're not complainers. They're happy to work.
Right, and I think that, it's corny to say enthusiastic, but that's sort of, the AD shouldn't be, okay, we're going to set. It shouldn't be like, you shouldn't be the last person that they're like going, come on, it's competitive. Certainly for commercials, you all know that. So be the person that they want to see again, not the person like, I don't ever want to see that guy ever again. The guy who was just like the first in line for lunch and the last one to come to set, and we've all seen those people. But, be the person who is going to, enthusiastic and a positive attitude. It is, we're all lucky to be working in this industry, and some people, I know sometimes this just becomes like it's a job and whatever, you had a really early call time, but, that's
Positive. Yeah. I just wanted to clarify one thing about us calling the casting directors. I would say all the time we don't give out names. So if we get a call and someone call and say, they're not putting the meal period penalties in my voucher, we usually will call, Carol and say, hey, can you find out they're not putting meal period penalties on that day? So I just want to clarify that everything that we do is anonymous, and so, because I know you guys, that can cost you work. We know that, so just wanted to clarify that. You guys talked a lot about wardrobe, and I know that's a big subject. If someone decide to work in this business, what suggestion you will give them on wardrobe? What should they have in their wardrobe? What are the 3-4 items that they need to have to work as a background actor?
I mean, I'm going to say, first of all, I think it's really important to stay true to what your look is. If you're someone who, you know, is got a mohawk and you're punk rock, that's your thing. So you're probably not going to get booked as a business person. You know, so if you're somebody who can be a business person, have business wardrobe, have nice casual, have things that maybe cocktail dresses, have things that you know can give you a range. If you've got a very specific look, be prepared to work that look. And if you have a big range, then as much as you can do helps us. It used to be that we would actually book people with their own uniforms many years back. We don't do that as much anymore. We don't use scrubs as much as we used to. Things that, you know, there for a long time we would provide people with their own cop uniforms, and but now those aren't needed as much anymore. So it's basically, I think it's important to stay to your look.
Yeah, and I would just also add to that, if you're a businessman, a doctor type, what have you, a lawyer, suits, very important. Have at least a couple of suits. If you take a job and you just take one suit, it's really not, you know, especially if they ask for you to bring changes. You know, black slacks, white dress shirt for waiters and waitresses and bartenders. Those are really good things to have in your arsenal of clothing. You know, again, just go by, you know, what Vanessa said is, you know, stay true to yourself, have enough wardrobe. Don't just have, you know, the clothing on your back. Usually it's not going to do it. Like Alice said, if there's something that we're casting you for and you want to do it, run out to, you know, Sears or Kmart or the secondhand store and pick that up. That's the best way.
I have to add that I think lots of different types of styles of things. It's not expensive to go to thrift shops, and it's actually fun, or consignment stores. Pick out the country western look. Have another one that's more city and business and upscale, like your professional business person. And have just a whole assortment of anything you think of that kind of looks good for yourself. Workout clothes as well. If you're in shape, have some nice looking workout clothes. Again, avoiding logos, no red, white, or black.
I would say for the commercials, it used to be a lot of business, but I would say for me, I think maybe just because business in America has changed and has become a little more casual, because even when it's a work scene, an office scene, they don't necessarily want it to look like, you know, bankers. But you've got to have a lot of like head-to-toe outfits that are upscale. Like they would say for me, like think Banana Republic, you know, that sort of J. Crew-y sort of, and in different, you know, not patterns, but different palettes of, you know, because they're gonna, with the commercial, you know, you will watch TV, you can see like, oh, the hues in this is a very blue toned thing. They want everybody specifically in this, or they want, so you need to have things that are jewel tones, and you need to have some pastels. But if you're coming in pastels and that's not what they want, she's gonna flip her wig. So, you know, and if you don't know what those are, go Google what jewel tones are, and, you know, go to the store, look around. Look in magazines that, not like Vogue, but just look at, you know, look at print advertising. What are these people wearing in the Target commercial or the J. Crew Gap? That's really what, I mean, it's just, I think it's harder for people who are sort of 18 to 24. I mean, I remember when I had a temp job in a law office, and I got a call from the person who booked me, and like, what did you wear to the office today? You know, I thought I looked very professional, and so I think about that sometimes, and I'm like, what is that person wearing to the set? So I think it's harder for younger people. They don't have a lot of money to spend on wardrobe. So yeah, get creative. Go to, you know, the Goodwill and see what's out
Can I
there.
ask how many here go to thrift shops to get out more clothes for their work? Yes. So you already know that. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Come down to Orange County. The thrift shops there are an abundant treasure trove.
That's an interesting question that I have here. How do background actors tread the fine line between being too aggressive but still letting you know how much they want to be hired. I like that one.
For our office, we ask people, if you're calling us every day, obviously, we can't take calls from everybody who's looking every day. So we ask that you can shoot an email to us once a week. Let us know that you're available for that week. You can call every other week or so saying, I'm available, I'm open, I'm looking for work. And we appreciate that because we feel like you get, on our radar, we are doing a million things every day. And we just end up getting sidetracked very quickly because things need to happen immediately, constantly.
With us, what really I think gets to us is when somebody calls in and says they're perfect for one thing, and then later in the day, they're perfect for something else that's completely different. Or they're calling in for something that they're 20 years older than. It's not going to do it. And you know what? We listen to those calls, and I'm going to be honest with you. We have a pretty good laugh in the office. And you do not want casting directors who are casting you to be laughing and knowing that when you're calling in for things that are completely out of your realm. So be careful on that.
I agree completely. I don't have a way really to reach me that easily. I have a couple different email addresses. I have a hotline that, frankly, going through the messages and clearing the hotline, when you've got, mine fills up at 100. But you've got 60 hang-ups, and you've got other people laughing and making jokes, and you've got some people you can't understand what they're saying. And it takes a couple hours to get through listening to everybody's messages. So when I say on my hotline, please don't leave a message now or you'll fill up the hotline, it's true. And then the person that maybe I do need to hire does not have an opportunity to get the job that I'm looking for.
Yeah. Can I just say one thing on top of what Carol just said? If you are calling Carol, myself, Vanessa, Alice, however you could do it, and whatever the company has set up. And if you're calling from out in the boonies someplace, make sure you have a good connection. Because I can't tell you how many people have called for jobs that said, "Hi, my name is," and the phone number is, we delete those right away. So make sure you're clear. Make sure you get to a spot where you know it's going to be kind of clear. And if you're not sure, call back again and say, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I don't know if you got this message or not." But please be aware of that because, we're not going to cast you if that's all we're hearing.
And I just want to add one more thing to that, too. A lot of times people will call. We're on the phones, and they'll hang up. They'll call right back. They'll hang up again, they'll call right back. And they'll keep calling. And sometimes you're like, that's number 12. They've called 12 times in a row. Leave the message. Leave the message. We will get it. We try to answer the phones. We can't get to every phone call. And, when you're trying to deal with something and someone's calling incessantly, you say, okay, that it's very stressful to have that same person calling.
We know who you are.
I have a separate line for production. I have an auto attendant. Most of the time, the best way to check in, which is not necessary, but I know that people like to do it, is shoot me an email, or you can leave a message on the actor's line. But this sort of falls under pet peeves, too. I forgot about this one, is my production line, which is just for, agents or production to call me. And I pick it up, and it's like, "Oh, hi, this is Susie. I know I'm not supposed to call on this line, but..." It's just like, well, it's because I understand sometimes you pushed one instead of two or whatever, but to start out a conversation with, "I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm available," that would fall under the category of not a good way to remind me that you're available and get a booking.
Oh, okay.
Before we move on, can I just say it'd be really nice I know we speak like this really fast when we're giving out our details and what we're doing, but when you guys call and we do want to be able to call you back or hear you, maybe just say your name slowly and clearly and then repeat your phone number twice. When I call people out, like I'm wanting you to call me back, I almost every time repeat my phone number, because I know you may get a call or the phone line may hiccup, and then that's just a dead end.
And if I could, enunciate. You're absolutely right. And I was just going to say this too, that I mean, ask about pet peeves. I mean, we love all of you guys, but there are some bad apples, and there are some bad pet peeves that people do. One thing is, when you call and you're leaving a telephone number, and we're asking for somebody who could perhaps, I don't know, let's just say, has a dog or could walk a dog or something. We don't want to hear the whole volume of all the dogs that you walked over the last 20 years. We understand you can walk a dog, you've got a dog, whatever, but we get the stories, and we get them. We get the stories. And like Carol's saying, we have a lot to do, and if the story's too long, the majority of us are going to just on to the next. And we hate to do it, because we really, truly would love to give you guys work and get you out there, but there's certain things that you need to do to make our jobs easier, and we'll certainly cast you more.
So I have a question that was given to me by the chair of the Background Actors Educational Outreach Committee. But before I read the question, his name is Rick Markman. He's been working really hard to put this event together with others. If you can stand up, and I can, I don't want to forget. So it's Vincent, Joan, Samantha, Linda, and Matthew, please. Thank you, guys. And Rick just texted me before we started this panel discussion. He's on a job, so you wanted to make sure that I read this question, and I find it very interesting. Have you ever noticed a background in a TV show, movie, that impressed you so much you needed to find out who the person is so you can cast them?
No.
I had to. I thought it was funny.
Mark Geschwin. Anybody know him? He's right there. I saw him in something, and I said, that guy. No. That's a whole nother story. You know what? No. I have seen plenty of background people, though, that I thought perhaps have great potential to be more than background. But I can't say that I've seen anyone and said, I need to get that person to play my lawyer on this TV show. As we all know, background, there's a lot of people that fortunately, unfortunately, look the same to a certain degree, and I just went for the other guy.
On the other hand, I've seen background that I would never want on my set, because I'll be watching a show, and I'm sure you guys do it too, right? And the extra is staring right at the camera as he walks by. And you're like, oh my God, how did that make it to how did that not get cut out?
And another thing I have to say, I was talking to Carol that sometimes I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was some movie that was shot in the 70s, and we were watching it, streaming it, and I'm like, pause! And I just couldn't believe it, because it was filled with people who are, maybe now in their 60s. I'm like, there's so-and-so from when they were young. I mean, so I'm looking, and I see you guys, and Mom was like, or at the movie theater, I'm like, oh, I know those people. So we're looking at you. We know you.
That does happen. That does happen to me too. I'll see people on screen who are background, and as we all know, there are a lot of actors out there that started as background, and you guys all have to know that. From Renee Zellweger to John Wayne, John Travolta, I believe, Sylvester Stallone. So there are a lot of people that started as background actors, and keep doing what you're doing.
So here's a good questions regarding stand-in. So you guys cast for stand-in also. So how do I get stand-in experience without having stand-in experience?
Stand-ins are a little bit tricky for us because oftentimes when we start a show, our assistant directors will tell us, I've worked with these people. These are the people we'd like to use for our stand-ins, and there are no stand-in spots. Occasionally, there'll be someone that we have to match. We have people that we've worked with for many years that we know are reliable, that are good. I hear oftentimes that they want you to just, obviously you guys know, stick around when you're standing in. If they want you to jump in and be able to read lines off camera, that's a plus. And if you can do it, if you don't have a million excuses of why you can't make it or have an audition, or they notice all of these things, your timing, the way you watch things, all of it, and that you're there when they need you. That's a huge thing. So once we get you out there and we try you out as a stand-in, make a good impression.
Yeah, I would agree. Stand-in work it's great to have if you could get it, especially on a series. I will tell you that the majority of the stand-ins on Grey's Anatomy are still standing in on Grey's Anatomy. They're not going to want to give that up. And the way that anybody could get in on other work as a stand-in would be, if you fit the bill for an actor and you can actually, you could learn how to stand in. It's just once you learn how to stand in, it's being there, being a good stand-in, paying attention, being on your mark, not saying you have to go at any certain time, not saying you only have 3 days when the job is 28 days, because those are all points against you. And if you go to an interview, and there are definitely interviews that they will interview people that haven't stood in before, be honest with them. Say, I haven't, but I am so ready for this job. I have my days open. I will do whatever it takes to get this job. And there are possibilities and there are openings for that to happen. And just be there, be professional, be on your mark. Second team, that's what it is. Actors are first team, stand-ins are second team. First team, step out, second team, step in. If you're not there, you're not going to have a stand-in job anymore. And quite honestly, you probably won't get another opportunity to have that stand-in job.
Yeah, when you're a stand-in, you're married to the project. Just don't plan anything else. Of course, you guys, probably all of you have stood in at some time here or there, maybe got bumped up to utility stand-in on set. Different projects have different thoughts on stand-in sometimes. Sometimes they want them to look so much like the actor that they can double for the actor if need be. Other times they want you not to look like the actor because they want to use you in deep background or have you also work as a background actor as well as stand in. And I feel that if you're part of the team, some stand-ins don't want to do background work. They say, well, I'm here standing in. I can't fill in as background. I'm like, are you kidding? You've got the best job there is out there for a background actor. Go ahead and be part of the team. Enjoy it.
For me, it comes down to generally matching. It's generally for a celebrity because they need to set the lighting, and it might just be a pre-light day and then the shoot day because they've got so and so for a limited amount of time. They got to get them into wardrobe and on set, and then so I mean, if I know that somebody has stand experience and it's between a couple people, I'll say, well, Susie has experience, Barbara doesn't. But sometimes they feel Barbara's a better match, and that's who they want to book. It's just it's about matching for me.
And then on the set, they give them the experience. They tell them what to do. That's kind of what happens.
It's a lot less involved generally on a commercial than it is because they're not doing a scene. They're just pretty much probably standing.
It's easier. And on movies.
I just wanted to add to that we just had on one of our films, we were trying to match a hair color, and they didn't want to deal with cutting or dyeing the hair. This woman's hair was perfect. She was a SAG member, but she didn't have stand-in experience. And she said, I'm up for the gig. I'm available all the days, and I promise you, I'm going to be there. They brought her in day one, loved her, and she got herself a stand-in gig for 20 days on a film.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
I'll add to that, it does happen, and if people don't know how to stand in, we'll usually take them by the hand and teach them. Yeah, it's a conversation over the phone, but if you're not paying attention, you're not going to be standing in longer than that day. It's true. Standing in is not difficult, it's what comes with the job. It's the... we talk about matching, you're pretty much matching a hair color, a height, a skin tone. That's pretty much what you're matching, because you're not a photo double necessarily, although in commercials there's probably more photo doubles in standing in. Sometimes you will be a stand-in and photo double. Sometimes it'll just be a stand-in and they'll bring somebody else in who's closer looking to the actor to be a photo double. Mm-hmm. But again, any of us up here could teach you how to do it. It's a matter of you taking that and going with it. But we're probably going to go to the people who have stood in for us over and over and over that we know are good stand-ins first, although we'll give opportunities when the opportunities arise.
One other thing is sometimes major actors come with their stand-ins. They already have a regular stand-in that they like to use.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And on occasion, you'll get an actor who's very particular and wants to approve their stand-in, and that's a whole different process, but it does happen as well.
Okay. So like I told you guys, before you leave, make sure you leave your headshots on those boxes. But there's a question here from someone in the audience. Are background headshot different than principal actor headshot? If so, which do you prefer? Do you have a standard headshot that you prefer for background actors' work, or?
I think that a headshot is a headshot. We will say that most of the time, to be really honest, production prefers to see what they call real photos of people. So if you've got a picture where it's airbrushed and you look gorgeous and you look wonderful, we appreciate that, but then they'll come back to us and say, well, I just want a normal picture, and what this has turned into for us is they'll say, can you send us a selfie? So now if we've got, 40 people to cast in a scene, they want selfies of these people. So you guys can imagine what that process becomes of getting out, reaching out to everybody and getting those photos. So the more natural and regular photo, something that you would even, not like a picture of you in a club with the friends or anything like that. We don't want to see that. We want to see a picture of you during the day, normal lighting, looking like you normally do, and whatever we need you to look like.
I echo that. And, headshots are great, but again, the majority of us, except maybe Alice, we don't deal with them necessarily all that much, unless a director wants to see it. We're going to go with a shot that's more natural. But if you have a really good headshot, then get your agent to get you out there and get more auditions. That would be the best thing.
I would say that the headshot styles have changed over the years, and I would say for principal and for background, there shouldn't really be that big a difference. Certainly if somebody is submitting to me a black and white photo, then I know that is probably 20 years old. It's just like, that's not what it should look like.
Okay.
And yes, you want to have maybe good lighting, and if you had something done professionally and you're wearing makeup, but it should not. If I see something I can tell is retouched, I'm not going to book you because you're not going to look like that when you should, unless you have a team, of people in your closet helping you get ready and out the door in the morning. You're not going to look like that
on the set. Yeah. Okay.
I echo what everybody else here has said, but I do feel like it's important to have several looks of shots of yourself. Like if you're trying to go for a position or you're in a medical scene, having a smock on and, having access to some of those pictures is really great too, because you may not look when you're in your sportswear or golf wear, how they can picture you, what you'd look like if you were in a medical situation with a smock and just looking doctorly.
Mm-hmm. One question from the audience again. Background actors often don't know what kind of situation they're going to be put in. How do you suggest handling if the actor is not able to physically handle the direction, i.e. standing walking for extended periods, stairs, temperature, any ADA considerations. I remember one time this particular actor called me, and she had to go, many times up the stairs, and a lot of, especially women, they tell them to wear high heels. It was just up and down the stairs, So do you guys give them any directions? I know productions sometimes don't give you everything that they're gonna do during the day, but if they are put in certain situation like this, what should they do?
Well, I would start by just saying that if we know it's a physical scene or it's something that is going to be a little bit different, we're going to explain it to all of you in the booking. And if they're not feeling comfortable with it, we'll say, hey, it's not a big deal. Let us get you on something else. Because you're going to be going up and down these stairs 100 times. You're going to be in heels, and if you're not comfortable with that, then we'll book you on something else. Or why don't you take a very comfortable pair of shoes if you're able to walk up and down? Take a comfortable pair of shoes in between takes that you could put on. But, we're going to leave it to you. We will not get mad at people that can't do scenes physically or otherwise. We're there to work with you.
I feel like people that know that they have a bit of a problem getting up and down stairs should never go out for a position, or if they get called to book in a scene where they're going to be spectators and bleachers, they might want to mention to the casting director, well, I might have a little trouble getting up and down stairs or sitting that long in bleachers without any seat back. I mean, it is hard, especially I've had ADs tell me, we have to move these people fast, and the people you sent us today were not moving. So when you give your details tonight, make sure that everybody is comfortable moving quickly up and down the bleachers so that we can move them from one position to the next. We can't take all day to do that. So it's insensitive on their part, but know your limitations and be honest with the casting director. And we'll try to be honest, of course, with talent is what the job entails.
Yeah, I was going to echo that in terms of honesty, because I will never be like, oh, I'm never going to book this person again who honestly tells me, I'm in a play and I have to be at the theater at 7 o'clock. I will get you on something else, or I'll ask the AD, and they'll say like, oh, I can't guarantee that they'll be able to wrap, but it's a real problem. Like if you come up to the AD and ask to leave, or you show up to a set and you have some sort of issues with not being able to walk or whatever it is. I mean, if it just, I always appreciate you asking me honestly, and I'll tell you honestly. I know that there was rumors of a certain casting director who would be like, they called you and said, are you available? Like if you said like, no, I'm not because my son's getting married, they'd be like, oh, I'm never calling them again. I am not that way, and I can't imagine that you all are that way either. It's just like if it's not going to work out on this one, then it'll work out on the next one. But just, don't ask to leave, and let us know if there is a situation where you're not able to do because sometimes I don't know what's happening on the set. I'm like, they don't always tell me, or with commercials, it can be fluid. Somebody has a great idea, and the next thing you know, everybody's dancing. So if you have something that you think might become an issue, let us know.
Okay. This one, when you are casting, do you go through your files first by the actor's age? If so, what if they look a lot younger? If you don't pull their picture, how will you know? Interesting one.
I do searches by generally
By range.
By a range, but if somebody's submitted, I'll be like, that can't be right. And if it turns out it is right, then I'll just change it and then make a little note of it, like legally is this age, but like is looking amazing. So they only look, a lot of the times, so because we book 18 to look younger, so lots of times there are people, it's not just 20-year-olds who look young. I mean, sometimes it's like, how is that possible that person is 30 years old and looks 12? But there are people out there. And I don't want to keep them in that age range, because then when I'm looking for that person, they're not going to come up. So I change it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, as we all know, age is just a number. And if there is a 30-year-old that looks young enough, we may consider them. But we also have to be realistic. Even though age is just a number, we are in a business that is looking at people, and we're not the only ones that are looking at you. The director is looking at you. It's the vision of the director and what they see, and that's very important. So we'll do our best, but we're not going to jeopardize our careers and what we do to get you guys out because you think you look, like I said earlier, 20 years younger. It's not going to work. We could, a couple years here, a couple years there. If we think that it will work, yes. But most of the time, it's all of you guys thinking it'll work, and it doesn't work that way. We are the casting directors. We make the decisions, most of the decisions, but in many cases, more so now than ever, the final decisions are coming from the ADs or the director or the producers. So we're not going to show them somebody who's, with all due respect, 50 years old to play an 18-year-old. We're not going to be working that job tomorrow. And none of you guys will either. So we have to be really careful in our selection.
And to the point of getting photos, sometimes I'll say to somebody, oh, I'm looking at this, and I have a timestamp. So your photo with me is 3 years old. Oh, I don't look any different. Nobody doesn't look any different in 3 years. You may have the same hairstyle, and you may be wearing the same outfit, but you look different, and that's just a fact.
And I know we've all kind of mentioned it, but it's true. It's if you're late at night looking for something at the last minute and production calls you and you have to add this and you have to go through a bunch of submissions that are not right for what you're looking for, it's so frustrating. It's something that ends up being very time consuming. And again, if you're 50, you're not 18 to look younger.
Yeah, and if I can also say something on that, the late night is the worst because when we put it out there and we're looking for that 18 to look younger, and everybody out there who doesn't have work yet is calling in and going, I can do it. I could put a hat on or something. Again, you don't want the office laughing.
So another question. I know when you guys walked in, we gave you a list of all the casting directors. And this question says, how many agency is it wise to be registered with? Is it a...
Register with all of them. That's what
all
I
of
tell
them,
people.
That's what I think.
Absolutely. I tell everybody who calls, register with every casting company in town. You're going to stay working. You'll hopefully stay busy. To register with everybody.
Yeah, by all means. I think you'd want to be with every casting director in town, especially Jeff Olan right now. You are so busy.
With everyone.
I was just going to say the four of us.
No, it makes no sense not to. And everything that you can do as far as following instructions is like I said, I love Facebook. If I'm trying to get a picture of somebody and I hear that they're perfect for it by lieu of another person on Facebook and it's 11 o'clock at night, I can go ahead and look up that person on Facebook and drag their picture down and email it in a matter of 5 minutes. So everything you can do to register with people beyond, if it takes a calling service, I don't know. I don't think it absolutely has to. I can't imagine. I don't want to pump LA Casting, but I don't think it's an exorbitant amount of money to see what work is out there.
Yeah, and I agree. Just, get with whatever companies, and I will say legit companies that are out there. Do your research if you don't know. Make sure that you're with good companies. But the one thing that, again, going back to the pet peeves thing that Alice had mentioned is, or maybe you did, I don't know, is the double booking. If you're with several different companies, you don't have a call-in service, or even if you do have a call-in service, make sure that if you're booking with one company, you're not getting booked by somebody else. Because if you have to cancel, it better not be on one of us sitting up here. That's all I'll say.
Good. So we almost ending the panel. This is the last question. How do you prefer actor keep a relationship with your company? Drop-ins, emails, phone calls, flowers? No, please don't do that. Mailings.
I prefer email.
Okay.
And we're fine with phone call occasionally. Leave a message if you get the voicemail. or an email here and there is fine also.
I would say when I have my next registration, feel free to update and come in, since I'm not doing it every week. And like I said, it'll be in the fall, so I would like to see people again, since my last one was in February. I think 6 months is an adequate amount of time for people to come in and update again.
That's good.
And I would say we know each and every one of you. We will stay in touch. There's no real way that you could necessarily, maybe a postcard from time to time letting us know you're available. We don't really like to get the phone calls because a lot of people are calling. That takes a lot of time out of our day to answer calls. We don't necessarily like to get the emails unless you are submitting for something. We do have hotlines, and for all of you that are with me know that. So I would say the best way of staying in touch is for calling on those hotlines, but calling for the jobs that absolutely fit you. And that's the best way of keeping probably the best relationship with us is, we're not necessarily trying to make rules and regulations. You got to do this, you got to do that. But in the line of work that the four of us are in up here and so many others that do what we do, the easier you make it on us, like I said earlier, the easier we'll be making it on you and the more we'll think about you.
You guys want to add anything else that you want to,
I just want to throw one more thing out there that's been coming up a lot, and I'm sure you guys probably are in the same boat. But a big thing we're hearing from our production companies is the social media aspect of things, and people don't think about it and they post stuff on social media, and all of a sudden we're getting a call from a legal department, very upset. And so just be very mindful when you're on set of what you're posting, of what you're talking about, mentioning the film, taking pictures of people without their consent. It's a big thing, and it sounds like something we all know, but I think that it's just being very aware and very mindful of that.
I'll follow up with that. There was somebody who actually took a shot on Grey's Anatomy last year, and it was our last scene of the season. And they took a shot of the actress and what she was doing, which was going to come off as a huge surprise. For the most part, it still did. But what Grey's Anatomy has, and I'm sure other productions have it, they have people that are monitoring. They are monitoring the online, the Facebook, the Twitter, the this, the that. Don't think they're not. They're monitoring it, because if you're giving away information about that show, number one, you will never be invited back again. And with all due respect to the union, they won't have anything to really say. It's not going to be easy to talk producers into having you back after you just ruined some shots for them. So really be very, very careful. If you want to shoot a picture of yourself in a scrub or in a suit or with some friends, do it outside the soundstage. Don't shoot anything on the soundstage. Don't shoot anything far away that you think could get you in trouble, because if it goes up on Facebook or Twitter or any of these other, sites, Instagram, whatever, somebody finds it, and even if it's not production, somebody else finds it, they're going to more than likely rat you out. And that's not going to be good. It won't be good for you. So be very, very, smart about that. That was great.
What both of you said was great. And just to say more on what you said, who's it going to reflect on when that background actor has posted a picture of himself on set? It reflects on you. They're going to be angry. We can't help it. They can't help it. They have to take it on somebody, and we take the heat for it. And that's a pretty bad feeling when you've been rewarded with the job and your AD calls you ranting and raving and swearing, most likely. And why didn't we tell people not to do that? And how do you send us somebody that would make that kind of judgment call that was a good thing to do? So again, it reflects on us if you do that sort of thing.
Yeah, cell phones, it's another part of it. Yeah, turn your cell phones off. But one more thing that Carol just said, which is, really, really important. We work very, very hard for each and every one of you and for the entire membership of SAG, as well as all the non-union people in this town, and there are a lot. Everything everything that, when you go out on a set, everything you do is a reflection on us. And we have heard from many producers, directors, every single one of us, when somebody is out there, you know, quote unquote, not playing by the rules, being that one bad apple, you're not just bringing us down, you're bringing the entire industry down, because it's not good. We want to be professional. We're professional. We expect professionalism out of each and every one of you. And, you know, we're happy. We're really happy to give you this information, and hopefully you put it to good use.
I was just going to add that when I give out my details, I usually give an emergency number to call. And if you get to set, and of course you have the right to call SAG, but I like a set report when you guys see something that isn't right. So again, use that opportunity. That's when I'd like to hear from you, is if you get there and wardrobe's not treating the background yourself or other background properly, or you see another background actor maybe not behaving well. Not to tell you to snitch on them, but it'd be nice to have a heads up before I hear it from the AD.
I forgot what I was going to say.
One
last word was that, you know, there are a lot of non-union shoots going on commercially now, more than I've ever done. And I'm not busy. I'm just, unfortunately, not that busy casting union things. So my feeling is, you know, get out there if you're lucky enough to get a commercial booking, you know, do a great job and make them see what, you know, hiring trained professionals, union members is going to make a difference on their shoot. And, you know, that's what I would like to say, because I think there is a difference. I know there is a difference. I know how difficult it is. It's a lot harder for me to be casting non-union shoots, because you're the experienced professionals, and I would greatly prefer to be booking you all. So when you do have the opportunity, you know, take advantage of it and let production know how great you guys are.
That's wonderful. Again, thank you so much, and please.
We want to thank Fatna. We want to thank the union. We want to thank SAG-AFTRA.